Hey guys, it's Robert Dreamerlist back with a lateral game and a chess lesson for beginners and advanced players and intermediate players, of course. Um, I don't know if this is classified as an advanced game, but well, let's see. So my opponent starts with d4, solid opening. I play my system, and by now you should know about my moves in my system. And as usual, they have different setups. They try to angle my system from different perspectives, and sometimes they succeed, and yeah, a lot of times they fail. Um, this time they attack my center really quickly, and this guy, and I decide to. I can play an open play style here if I want, but I decided to close. Uh, it depends on my mood. In this case, I wanted to see if I can get him to show some weaknesses just by me provoking him dif- in different spots. And so I decided to do it this way by two bishops attacking two knights. And then I can see his sensitivity about his pawn, double pawns, and anything. So I can actually kind of see his playing style through his response, and it helps me later. He decides to attack one of the bishops and doesn't care about the other knight. So in that sense, I can see that he doesn't really bother about the double pawn, which in this case is, well, it's not good, but it's not terrible either. But I would say it's not good. So that means I kind of already know that a little bit his level of play. Um, and now he decides to do it, and that's only because now he can attack my queen at d5 uh, with his knight, and that's why he did it this time. So and now I back up for that, because if he goes with the knight, then I can take with my knight and defend my bishop. But of course he can take my bishop with a pawn, but at least I gives me some time to react. And now he pushes away the bishop. I could decide to take the knight, but I decide to keep the knight and make the game more complicated, because now I know his level, right? So that's like I already checked the temperature of him. Uh, this when you test the ham for temperature or whatever. I don't know, apple pies and the cheese pies, whatever. You always check temperature, I think, and at least for ham you do, and so on. So that's what I did with my bishops there before. And now he plays normal moves, tries to develop, and here he decides to, be able to move his queen as he wants. So there you see the efficiency of those bishops. Already they have caused him some irritation and some moves, and that's what my point with those bishop moves. Okay, so he gets some kind of queen flank domination, which is of course the problem I have to face. And I realized that castling long is out of the question, because then I will face all these pawns and just end up with a lonely king in the middle of any attack, and that's not fun. But I decided actually to do a short castling and then attack from that angle. But he tries to prevent any aggression from my point, my side. Takes my bishop, which he likes. He doesn't like it to defend the queen flank, and he's right. It's a good move he's doing here, because I get a really weak angle here, and so I have to really quickly maneuver away my rook, and he's absolutely much better at the moment. But um, only until I manage to break this pawn chain there, then I'm okay again. And as you see, I have a plan. I try to immediately break this, the structure, and he decides to just protect the structure. And I take, he takes. Now I have two pawns to fight instead of three. I have a rook file, and now I attack the next pawn in the chain, and now he can decide to take it, and then suddenly we are, I mean, not equal, but at least I don't have to face a three pawn chain. So he decides to take. Now I can decide to take with the knight or a queen, but uh, taking with the queen gives me an angle to f2, and also it gives me an angle. I get out of the rook file at c, and also there are some other good things with it too. For example, uh, well, I can double stuff at b file and attack his pawn, and that's my plan actually. So now he decides to push the b pawn really early, which I was didn't exactly expect. Maybe that was one of his mistakes, but I can't pass with the c pawn because that will give him a really strong passed pawn, and mine wouldn't be strong at all. So I have to do something else, and I decide to find the do the only thing that I have that is really giving me some kind of an edge, at least some kind of psychological advantage, and he has to push away his queen. Now suddenly I start to see some motives, and for example, now his queen is not defended, and he's kind of weak in some sense, and I get strong through my doubling at b. He decides to double up, but he's still weak there because the doubling doesn't help him. Because if he opens up, I take his queen, and I have on the other hand a defended knight. Sorry, defended queen by the knight, and also it also defends my rook. So I have kind of a good system at the moment. Everything is defended, and they help each other. While his pieces are, I mean, they are not really super harmonic. His rook does one of his rook doesn't do anything actually, and so I decided to attack his weak spot. He must have seen it, but he decides to ignore it. I have no idea why, but maybe he felt that there is some kind of gain from it, but I can't see it. I took it, and he goes away, and now I just go back because maybe he thought I would forget about my rook. Because my rook, my yes, as you see, my rook is hanging, but maybe he thought I would forget about saving up the rook. Of course, no, I didn't. And yes, it's a little bit complicated, but I was quite I knew exactly which moves were okay or not okay here. So uh, time was running out. Also, he started to get in time trouble more or less soon here. Yeah, I held it together, and I was quite secure with my king too. So I decided to find a new angle to attack him from. Uh, Actually, it doesn't really do much that knight at g3, but it gives me some kind of, I don't know what to say, some kind of chance to get into his position and annoy him and maybe even fork something in the future. And he decided to defend it, so it was a psychological defending there. Uh, and now suddenly we have a bishop that moves out of range for my pieces and just starts to think about defending himself. My rook decides to go back all the way instead of just staying there and maybe becoming a sitting duck future. I decided to make it a stronghold instead, where my rook also defends the last rank, because if there is a variation where the b pawn strikes at c6 and then strikes either the knight or the knight has to go away, and then he pushes c7 or reach the last rank, then I'm quite could be in some variations in trouble. I decided to back up that rook all the way up. It's like 10, 6, 7, 8 moves ahead. But still, it was important to move the rook in the right position. So he decides to move up the rook. Entirely why is unclear. Yeah, probably to protect his queen and be able to strike at b. But now I just neutralized that rook move, which wasn't really harmonic because it blocks the bishop, and also the knight is now neutralized. And now he has to do something with his. He wants to attack my knight and get rid of that because he's sort of, yeah, his bishop is petrifying him a little bit. So that did some good, even if it didn't even have a tactical threat that was worse than name. It still became a really important piece for me to obstruct his defense. So I back up. Now I have attack at e4. I protect my knight again at d7, and the queen now pushes up to b3 and tries to find an angle to attack, but there is no angle to attack. So that move is empty. Looks good, but it's empty, and it's really dangerous to play empty moves, especially in these kind of tactical battles. I push with a knight. Now suddenly I have Modis. Of course, he should not play what he played. He played that and he lost the game. But he should have played probably this, maybe. Um, that probably be okay. Maybe not. No, I will just take knight as a take, and then suddenly my bishop, my knights are completely in the position. I can choose which I have to choose this right knight. Otherwise, the bishop at f2 is gonna be a nasty thing. And also, this is a fork. So, yeah, things are really bad here, and he's gonna lose the game anyway. Yeah, so that was the game. I hope you learned something. If you go back really quickly, you can say that the most well, he played some nonsense move in defense. Should have played much more actively and much more aggressively and much more tactically, and also strategically missed a lot of moves that were he made nonsense moves, mainly empty moves, and it's dangerous. You don't have time to do empty and nonsense moves. Uh, yeah, okay. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. I did. Cheers. Have a good night and evening. Cheers.